Hey, y'all. Happy Monday. Monthslay. I am coming to you PMSing and jolly and ready to have a great conversation with my dude, Matt. So I'm going to go ahead and invite him in because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is victim mentality. Do you have one? Because a lot of the times we are not even aware that we do have a victim mentality, and how to overcome it, because nobody likes a victim mentality. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you stagnant. It keeps you in the same place. And we want main character energy. We don't want to have a victim mentality. So I'm going to go ahead and invite in my friend, Matt, and we'll go ahead and go from here. How do I invite him? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, cool. Cool. Well, as he's coming in, so a victim mindset, again, guys, a lot of us we're not really aware. You might be aware that you have a victim mentality, but it's really going to be coming down to identifying your thoughts, your self-talk, and your thinking, your type of thinking, and how you show up every day. Do you believe the world is against you? Do you believe that everybody else can reach their goals and it's just a struggle? And, it's a lot of maybe whining or complaining or woe is me. I know I used to have a victim mentality with certain things for sure. And so I didn't realize that I did until, okay, no problem. He's going to take a second. So I'll just keep this going. I didn't realize I had that victim mentality until, someone called me out on it, right? And so victim mentality, that type of thinking can really kind of sound like, I feel like it feels like like it just feels like a big fat sigh, right? Your circumstances are why you can't change, you don't have time and the world is against you and it's hard and it's just hard. Okay, now what? Right? So a victim mentality is going to be that type of thinking that really kind of keeps you in the same spot. Okay. And so it can really feel like, I really, really want this. Maybe it's to live healthier, to feel better in your body, to build more confidence, to go out there and reach, your goals, but you're also not moving. Like you're stuck in action. And so because you're stuck in inaction, because you're comfortable or complacent, maybe you feel like shit about yourself. And so maybe you opt into like these like escapist behaviors or self-sabotaging behaviors. And it just pushes you further and further into this woe is me mentality, which again keeps you stuck. Okay. So I'm excited to chat a little bit more about that today and share a little bit of Matt's story and talk a little bit more about victim mentality, how to overcome it, so that way you can achieve your goals. And hey,
Lexi,
Matt, what's up? How are you?
doing well.
Yes. How was your weekend? I saw you rage
Oh,
with Shrek.
it was so fun. It was so fun. And sorry about being
No,
late a little bit.
you're good.
I had 11 in my schedule, so we are here.
I think I may have scheduled it at 1 on my calendar, but now that I think about it, I think we did schedule 2 p.m. my time, or I don't fucking know, but regardless, here. And I'm excited to chat a little bit more and kind of share your story.
100%.
And talk about, I was talking about like a little bit of just victim mentality, right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, they may not even be aware that they have like a victim mindset or that they are making themselves a victim. And so just to kind of start it off, do you want to kind of share, hey Jayla, do you want to kind of share, your journey, what kind of got you doing what you do, and your story with having a victim mindset and how you kind of moved through that, and then we can kind of go from there.
100%. So, hey guys, I'm Matt. I'm originally from Bay Area, California, and that's where I'm currently living now. Um, Unlike maybe many people, I actually have a good relationship with my family, and it's kind of sucks to say, right? And I think one big thing that has really that I valued growing up in my life is right off the get-go, I was put into sports. And I think that's one big thing that I really much valued from my father is right as I was a little kid, I was playing soccer, I was playing baseball, I was playing basketball, I was playing all these sports. And I think through that, I really understood the value of community, of teamwork, of just character development overall. And through that, I still found myself like stretched out. I still found myself like, oh, I was a part of all these different teams, but I didn't have like this group of people. And I think through sports, going through school, going through university and everything, I realized, holy shit, like I really lacked this sense of belonging. Like I was a part of like this Jesus group in university. I was going to mass all the time. I was a part of these health and exercise, the like my major people, and then I was like hanging out with my friends that I like lived with. So I was always like I felt like I was everything to everybody, and internally subconsciously I was like no one to nobody. And through just my story, I went to university out in Colorado, and through that I really learned like holy cow, like I'm alone, I don't have family, I'm like this new person, I'm gonna be independent, like this is what I love, let's see what happens. And I really gained what it really feels like, holy shit, like I almost put myself in from one box of trying to leave home and try to make it by myself. And then I just put myself in like this other kind of other box. And coming to this realization, now I had always stayed true to fitness. I'd always stayed true to, oh my gosh, I just want to be involved in helping people. And I thought that athletic training was kind of my route, because I had been injured. I dislocated my kneecaps both times on my knees and 6 times. And then I broke my ankle and then just had MCL kind of problems. So I was like, okay, when I was going into university, I was always kind of injured and hurt and getting taped up and wrapped up. And then didn't really have a great experience at the university that I went to, with the athletic trainers. So I'm like, oh, maybe let's try strength and conditioning. And then through that kind of route, I like found, oh my gosh, like I actually really enjoy this. Started working with some collegiate athletes. My mentor had some guys on the Detroit Lions, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of my route, like working with collegiate, professional, even some high school athletes at like a top kind of level. And right as I was kind of gaining momentum, right, I realized that COVID hit and I was jobless. And I'm like, damn, like this sucks, right? And I think kind of going back into this victim mentality, I thought I was like no one to nobody. I'm like, damn, like I am really stuck in this situation. And I think for me in multiple sections of my life from like 2019 finishing college to kind of now, maybe even like last year, I'd always have this subconscious kind of like victim mentality of when things maybe wouldn't go the way that I wanted or the way that I envisioned, I would really have this like pity party for longer, right? And I think through the years, that pity party for myself, that victim mentality has gotten like shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think the reason why is because I've been really bouncing into like just really jumping into that mentality of taking more responsibility for my life. And I think right as I had it started when I realized I was going into university, right? don't know everyone. Like, I'm just this brand new individual in this completely new environment. But then I realized I was being taken advantage of, and thought these people were my best friends, and then realized they weren't, and that I'd have a pity party. And then I would get this job, and then get laid off or something, and then have this little pity party. Or I would go through a breakup, right, like everyone, and then I would contemplate like, oh, am I even worth it, like, and then I'd have this pity party, right, and then it would affect my health and my fitness goals, and then I'd have a pity party, right. And then through this whole entire journey over the course from 2019 to now, it's like I've almost been like thickening my skin, but I would actually been doing the work, right? Like what you really preach on, like doing shadow work, doing journaling, doing meditation, like doing these things that every time something didn't go my way, right? Like I'm gonna be honest, like right before this call, I thought it was like an hour from now. Yesterday, I had an all-nighter, had a 6 a.m. flight. I literally just woke up like five,
Yeah.
10 minutes ago. Right. So when you're like going live, I'm like, oh shit, I have
Oh,
to put on this bucket hat right now. I'm like, let's fucking go. Right. But I'm like not gonna say, oh, like we have to reschedule. It's like, no, like let's get it going. And I think through this journey of more so personal development within your health and fitness, within your career and getting promoted, within just like building relationships with others and yourself. I think as long as you start to realize your tendencies and actually become aware, right? Because like what you said, and in this topic, it's like so many people just don't even understand that they're like aware of their blind spots,
yeah.
right? Whether small or large. And I think for me and my journey is I actually started to pick up these blind spots. And the journey for me in personal development really much started when I went to a fitness retreat with my current coaches, Chad and like Farshad and Beyond Built and everything. And I had known them for literally one day. And we were like all playing this like personal development game the first day I was on this retreat. And Farshad asked me, he's like, how are you taking responsibility for your life? And it's like, not even my parents, no friends, like no one in my life has literally just like straight up said, how are you taking more responsibility? And I think that question, it becomes like a fork in the road, right? It's like you can either say, I don't know, and not be curious and continue going on the path that you're living, or you can actually be curious and be like, holy cow, like, where are my blind spots? How am I taking responsibility for my life? How am I not? And I think that was February of 2022. And since then, I've just been really curious into, oh my gosh, like this physical game, me changing my physical meat suit, like this body of mine only changes when, like, in a way that I want it to be, like, as an architect of my own body, when I focus on the internal game. And once I started focus on that internal game, then this last year I lost 30 pounds, and it was literally the most easeful journey I'd ever been on in terms of losing and now reversing back up, because I've focused on that personal development. What are my goals? How am I taking more responsibility for my life? Right? Like, oh my gosh, like I had this horrible relationship with food literally up until last year. And the reason was because I just didn't know what I truly wanted. And it was this story, this constraint that was holding me back from the long-term vision and the long-term outcomes that I wanted for myself. And as soon as I was like, oh my gosh, like this is this box that I had just placed myself in, now it's like, oh yeah, like I go on this trip in Vegas this weekend. I know myself enough now where it's like, I'm not gonna feel guilty getting chicken tenders at 2 a.m. when we just walk like 25,000 steps and dance our night off, right? And then today, coming back on Monday, it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to get back in tracking. Now I'm going to zero out my macros because my goals for my bodybuilding show later this year require me in order for me. So now it's not even a non-negotiable, right? But it's taken years, right, of work. And I'm not saying for anyone listening that it might take you years, but best believe no matter how short or how long the time frame is of what your goals are, it's gonna require work. So I think that kind of goes into my story a little bit, into like the victim mentality so far in my journey.
I loved it. First of all, like I love hearing a little bit more about your journey, and so many things you said not only resonate with me, but I know are resonating with people who are listening. Um, you mentioned a few things. One, the pity party. Oh my God, yes. I used to be the same way. And at many points, even in business, I still will find myself throwing myself a pity party, or, placing the blame on things outside of myself, or maybe thinking that maybe this isn't the right approach for me, or maybe this. And it's like, look in the mirror, girl. Like, look in the motherfucking mirror. I love you, but we got to look in the mirror. And I think you mentioned that you put yourself in this box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got this imagery when you said that, of this photo I saw a long time ago. I don't know if it was like a tarot card or like something, but it was basically this person in a cage as a prisoner, and the keys are right there next to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so stuck in their pity party that they don't even fucking realize that they are the ones with the keys to get out of the motherfucking cage.
Mm-hmm.
When you take responsibility, which can be hard to the ego, because the ego is all about self-preservation, self-deceit. And for those that are like, what is self-preservation? What's self-deceit? It's basically being in denial about your own patternings, about your own tendencies, to keep yourself blind to your own shit, right? You might even be aware of it, but you're aware of the cycle, but you just feel stuck in it, right? And so I would say that, we both know that in order to take the fucking keys that are right in front of you and
Mm-hmm.
lock yourself and get out of that cage that you put yourself in, that key is responsibility, and radical responsibility. It does not mean that it is your fault when shitty things happen to you. Like if you're in a relationship and someone fucks you over, or you have these friends and they fuck you over, doesn't mean that it's your fault. But it does mean that you get to choose how you want to respond and how you want to rise to the occasion. Do you want to make it mean something about who you are? Or do you want to fucking get up and move through it and take responsibility for maybe the red flags that you did kind of wash off because you wanted to give people the benefit of the doubt. And maybe this was how you were able to create boundaries, right? And so one of the things that you mentioned was like, it took time. And it definitely took time for me as well. And, for you guys listening, it might not take a lot of time, but it is a journey that starts from within. And it's a journey that is going to mean that you might oscillate back and forth between the pity party, victim mentality, and getting up and moving and being the responsible woman or man of your word and getting the fuck up and being like, you mentioned something powerful. If I want to change this meat suit and be the architect of my body and create a relationship with my body that is one of like honor and respect and integrity, I got to show up that way within my habits, within my life. So my next question for you, Matt, is like, you mentioned, um, fuck, I want to stay on my train of thought, but you mentioned something in your journey of like, being able to like, empower yourself into decision making. And as a mindset coach and like a lot of the work that we do, sometimes when we say take responsibility, I notice that some people will take responsibility, but the way that they take responsibility is actually bullying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And taking responsibility doesn't mean bullying yourself into action or shaming yourself into action. So I'm curious for you, Matt, like, how did you, like, one, did you ever struggle with like talking shit to yourself into action? Like, calling yourself like, don't be a bitch and like this and that, and kind of like beating yourself up into action. And how did that affect you? And how were you able to shift into taking responsibility from an empowered place and not from like a bullying place? Because I think people get stuck where they're like, they're trying to take responsibility, but it's still being fueled by kind of like that negative self-talk and that negative kind of shamefulness, that doesn't work. And then they're like, well, I'm taking responsibility and I know I'm a piece of shit and I know whatever. And not all that. So I would like to hear from you. How did you actually take responsibility, but also do it from a place of love and compassion? And if you ever struggles with that?
This is a good question. Thank you. And I think right off the rip that really comes to mind for me is there's no matter what, like let's just say if we start this like health and fitness journey, right? It's like no matter what, cling on to, especially at the beginning, cling on to whatever emotion that is driving you, right? So if it is out of maybe self-hatred, if it is out of maybe a negative emotion, right? Some guilt, shame, like you just went to the doctor and they told you you're pre-diabetic and like you're in a shitty place and maybe you want to run as far away from being pre-diabetic as possible, right? At the beginning, that could be that motivation. That could be the fuel. I don't want to be diabetic. I don't want to be taking insulin like all the time and have this complication for the rest of my life, right? But then there comes a certain threshold, right? And if you come from a place of passion, if you come from a place of love and you start operating by that, then you're right off the rip, you're undeniable, right? For me, I had realized subconsciously, literally up until like 6 to 8 months ago, so this is like even recent, that there was all these, like it can even be back with the relationship with food. It can be, why am I like, maybe I say maybe I'm pushing myself near failure, but maybe I'm not close to failure, or maybe that I'm saying that I'm getting good sleep, but then I find myself still watching Netflix at midnight and still getting 5.5, 6 hours, right? And then there's like these little patterns that for me just within the last year were coming up. And I had realized that I was really taking fake ownership, right? Fake responsibility, saying this story in my head that oh yeah, I'm taking responsibility, but I had been operating out of a place of negative emotion rather than the love that I actually have for myself in order to change. And once I actually started to really find that like threshold and that bridge to bridge, holy cow, like, no, like I'm doing this bodybuilding show this year because I fucking love myself. And I don't care whether I get first place or third place or whatever the judges say, as long as I showed up as my best fucking self, then I had already fucking won. And that is out of a place of love, and that is out of a place of like a higher kind of emotion. And one big thing from Dr. DeMartini that I really, really love, that I kind of instill within me and my clients, is you wanting something that is based out of like a zero, very neutral, energetic emotion, right? Like everyone wants a dream body, everyone wants money, everyone wants a healthy relationship. Okay, we want, right? So that is very neutral. When you go below want in a not more so lower negative energetic range, that is, I ought to do it, I should do it, this is an obligation. This feels like a fucking chore, right? And that's where it's really hard. That's where I was forcing myself. That's where I was saying, bitch, just get the fuck up, right? Even though you gotten 4 hours of sleep, right? Let's just get to the gym at 4 a.m. And then it's like kind of that negative kind of emotion, right? Shoulda, coulda, ought to, would, right? Anything kind of external outside of you. When you place anything above the want, this is, I desire this, I'm choosing to do this, I'm prioritizing this, I love myself freaking enough to do this, right? And when we start doing things, choosing things and deciding things out of this positive kind of emotion, that's where you actually break down the word responsibility, and it is your ability, you choosing to respond to the environment, right? And I think when we actually start to bridge that from those ought to, should, could, woulds to, oh my gosh, like I'm actually choosing, like I want to change, I want to create a healthy relationship with food, I want to change this body, this meat suit, I'm desiring and choosing this every single day. And don't get me wrong, there's days where we're tired, there's days where we don't feel like it, there's days where we're struggling, and you go through a breakup, you go through things, but it's like I'm still choosing to nourish. I asked a client this last week, and we ended the call off this week. Your word is nourishment. Like anything you do this next week, how can you just have a subconscious or even conscious mind of how am I just nourishing my body this week? Am I nourishing it with better food, higher quality food? Am I actually going to the gym and finishing my workout? How am I feeling? And I think for me and my journey, up until this last year, like I said, I had realized that I had been operating out of this state of those lower kind of energetic frequencies because I was running away from something, right? I was running away from being that chubby kid. I was running away from being that skin and bone cross country kid. I was running away from trying to avoid something rather than leaning into this higher self, leaning into this more successful self, leaning into this more health and fit body of mine, right? And when I started to actually like bridge that gap, then that's where I started zeroing out my macros on my macro tracking. That's when I started showing up every single day in the gym, right? That's where I started asking questions to my mentors and the friends that really love and support me, right? And I think when I started to act in accordance with that, then the ball game completely changed, right? So I think for anyone that's out there, it's like, like, am I operating this health and this fitness journey through a state of lack, through a state of scarcity, through a state of this is a chore, I have to do this, right? It's like, motherfucker, we don't have to do anything, right? You're working with Lexi, you're working with me because you desire this, right? And once you actually realize it's out of a state of, oh my gosh, I love myself enough to invest in myself. This isn't an expense, guys. This is an investment into you, right? In order to achieve your goals, in order to like feel and look and step into that highest and best version of yourself, then that's when the ball game changes. So I think that's kind of the, well, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it more than answers it. And that was fucking chef's kiss right there of just really bringing in the energetic part of it of like, guys, when it comes to your health, your fitness, and I tell this to my clients all the time, right? It's like, you don't have to do shit. I'm sorry. Like, nobody is putting a gun to your head and being like, you need to go. I'm not that type of coach. You're not that type of coach. This is your journey. You're choosing to do that because you desire to. And even for me in my own journey, like if I'm like I have to go get groceries, ew, like the energy already is like, ugh. And like that kind of like push. And I always ask my clients, how can we make it instead of more of like a push, like I have to like push myself to go? It's like, what would it feel like if you were just pulled to do that thing? And that's the difference between I have to, like I should. That's like push. That's like someone, behind you like has to push you, or you need someone to call you and be like, hey, like make sure you do it. That's like that's not it. But when you are like, oh my God, I desire to feel good in my body. First of all, I deserve to feel good in my body. I deserve to have clear skin. I deserve to have good energy, good moods. I deserve to look in the mirror in my jeans, getting ready to go out and be like, damn, them cheeks, right? Like you deserve to have those things. Well, then guess what? You're pulled to go do those things. It's a natural pull. You enjoy it more, you get to enjoy it more. And so I really, really love that you brought in kind of like the emotional frequency that goes behind like what what it is that you're doing. Like, want is so neutral. Like, it's so true. We all want our dream body. We all want to lose the pounds. We all want to build the glutes. We all want to be that girl, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, everybody fucking wants that. Everybody wants to have money. Everybody wants that. But what is actually going to set you apart is going to be doing it from a place of desire and love for yourself. And you might start off pain motivated, right? You might start off being motivated by the pain of, fuck, I just got diagnosed with this, and like I'm feeling a little bit of ashamed of like my doctor's appointment, or like I don't want to take insulin, or I don't want to get on medication. And so you might be, I don't want to like fucking hide myself during sex, right? Like, I want to actually be able to feel confident in these situations and be able to be healthy, be fit, be good in myself. And so you might start off being pain motivated, but if it's driving you the whole way, once the pain goes away, what then is motivating you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, at some point, like you said, Matt, like there's a threshold of where the pain has to turn to pleasure. And we got to start doing things from a place of like, I desire to, I get to. Even for my to-do list, I put get to-do lists to remind myself I get to do these things. And another thing that you said was just so powerful, of like, responsibility is the ability to choose to respond in a way that your higher self would, or that, you know, just from a place of a higher level of consciousness or emotions, which isn't always easy, guys, right? Trust me, we get it. I know. And this isn't about just like having toxic positivity and just not, you know, your feelings are valid. Whatever you're feeling is valid, and we still get to choose how we want to show up. So that was super, super powerful, Matt. And thank you so much for sharing that. I know everybody listening is getting so much value. My last question for you, Matt, would be, you know, let's say someone listening is like, okay, they're fired up. They're excited. They're ready to go from this conversation. But then they have this thought in the back of their head of like, okay, yeah, like, how long is that going to last? Or, okay, yeah, I'm super proud of myself. Like, I'm being consistent now, but I'm sure like in 4 weeks from now, I'm going to fall off and go back to old habits. Like, what would be your advice to somebody who, again, is kind of using their past as evidence for their success of the future, and they want to take responsibility, they want to step into this, but they only are aware of like how they can show up when they feel that fired up energy. And when they don't feel that fired up energy, they're like, fuck, you know? And so we kind of talked about that a little bit, choosing from a place of like desire, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
100%. One thing that always comes to mind is like what you said, like there's that fire underneath your ass and like you're ready, right? And I think that really even in my journey, and even in people that I help serve, is if we're leaning on motivation, right? Imagine you're leaning on you're motivated after a call like this, you're just motivated in some way, shape, or form, right? And then that motivation kind of dissipates, right? Well, it's like, oh, okay, well, we have to realize that when you feel like it, that's when you show up. And then when you don't feel like it, that's when you don't show up, right? And it's like, it's almost like motivation is now a crutch, right? So if you're motivated, if you are just leaning on a certain type of emotion all the time, then emotions come and go. Sometimes it's going to be a good day, and sometimes, oh, I'm freaking tired, right? If we're always just leaning on that as motivation, then we're never going to be consistent, right? And so it's like, it really comes down to not only what we've been saying, but it comes down to like, what are your goals? And like, not only what are your goals, but like, why are they important to you? And then not only what are your goals, not only why are they important to you, but what's your vision for yourself, right? Every single time when I have a call, like an onboarding process with the people that I work with, I literally ask them, I'm like, there's no such thing as I don't knows. I want you to really entertain yourself on this question. Like, let's say it's February 19th, 2025. Like, where are you at? Health and fitness. What do you envision for yourself in your career, in your relationships? Because the people that I've realized that are like, oh, I just want to get in shape, right? And then it's like, and they're like, oh, because I want to be healthy, and that's their why, right? And then it's like their vision for yourself. I don't know. And then it's like, those are the people that haven't really thought too much of it. They're at the want. They're, oh yeah, I want money, I want this, but do you really, right? So when I started getting very, very clear with my goals that I want for myself, like the what's, the why's, that North Star, I would start there and like actually sit yourself down and like don't think about it. Like we're thinking about 1,000, 10,000 things a day, guys. Actually get it on paper, write it out, like go on Canva, write out like a vision board of your dream car, of what you want to look like, of like the people, places, things that you're going to be visiting. Put it as the background screen of your phone. Like that is every motivation you need. If you're on your phone for 5-10 hours a day, the background of your screen, or just like have like a whiteboard in your room, literally list out the things that you're going to, small and large, that you're going to accomplish this next year. Because when you're reminded of these goals, then you start to act and live in accordance with them, right? Because for the longest time, up until like literally this last year, I was like a chicken with my freaking head cut off. I was, imagine I'm playing a game, a dartboard game with my friends, right? But so I'm playing darts, right? But I'm blindfolded. The dartboard, what I thought was in front of me, was actually behind me on the other side of the room, and I find myself in a fucking jungle, not even in the room. So when I throw the dartboard, it's just going into the distant land, and I have no clue where it's going. That's where I was with my health and my fitness journey, and with my business and my relationships journey, right? So it's like once you get more clear with who you are, right? Who you need to become in order for you to achieve maybe set goals, or to be consistent going into the gym, or to create a healthier relationship with food. You just need to be more clear with where you're going, right? Because becoming is a never ending journey, but we actually need to have these little milestones and these things to keep ourselves motivated and keep ourselves accountable, right? And then the biggest thing for me is, while setting these goals, right, and while maybe having some time lapse in between these goals, not getting discouraged if there was like, oh, I need to be here at this benchmark and it didn't happen, right? Because, and I want to tell you specifically, because you wouldn't have worked as hard as you would, or as smart as you would, if you didn't have those little benchmark goals, right? So even if, like, let's say you want to like have this dream body and you want to be in this X shape by EDC Vegas 3 months from now, right? But let's say you didn't get like the six pack or have the booty built by EDC Vegas, but best believe you worked your freaking ass off those last 3 months. And if you didn't have that goal, then you wouldn't be where you are. And that, then I think it's like, okay, well, how can I get in shape for Lost Lands? How can I get in shape for the next festival? How can I get in shape for the next wedding? And then you just keep building and building. And as soon as you know it, you're like, I desire this. I love this. I'm enjoying this, right? And I'm just building, like, oh my gosh, this booty pic of me like back in February to May, and then May to August, and then August to December. It's like you're almost like a complete new person, because you're building and becoming that person that you've always meant to be. And you put these benchmarks here, and you're like, no matter the outcome, I'm actually on this journey, on this road. Now it's a lifestyle, right? So whether you're motivated or not, you're like, I just enjoy this process. And I think so many people are like, oh, you just have to trust the process. You just have to trust the process. It's like, yes, you trust the process, but you also have to engage in it, right? Like actually engage in the process, because you can pray, you can manifest all the fuck you want, but we need to be in the trenches. We need to be working, right? And that's for me in my journey. I've had fitness coaches for since like 2019 up until now, right? It's like for me, I've realized as a coach, I want to learn more, I want to be better, I want to see how other people do it, and I want a sense of belonging. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, right? And for me, I've really found the value in community, and I'm not alone in this. So for me and my journey, that's what's really helped me be consistent, because now it's almost like I'm not only in competition with myself, but I'm in competition with all the people in the community. I'm in competition to better myself. So that's what's really, really helped me, is going out of my way. When I was in Colorado, I felt lonely as fuck. I had no one to work out with, no one near my vicinity. And then I realized, holy cow, I really resonate with maybe these people online, these online coaches or this online communities. And then I went out of my way to find my people, right? So not being alone in the journey, right? Putting and having clear goals, right? And then really focusing on just trusting and engaging in that process that you make for yourself.
Right. Amazing, amazing, Matt. You fucking hit like way more, like just such amazing points. And I know anybody listening is 100% getting so much value from this conversation. It's like how you said, like those listening, when you think about your health and fitness goals, and one, do you have a vision for yourself? What does it look like? Is it, like, is it aligned with where you want to go? And two, how important is that vision for you, right? Like, and be fucking real with yourself. Like, we have our values, we have our priorities, and our values are one thing, and then our priorities are really on the level of importance that those things are important to us, right? And so really being able to align with that in those moments when you don't feel like it. We probably rarely feel like it, and like Matt said, motivation is a crutch. And I always say motivation is like the friend that you know is probably gonna flake on you last minute, like, and be like, sorry, you can't make it, and you're like, I fucking knew she was gonna do that shit. Or right. It's the friend that you're like, I love when she or he's around, but I can't really rely on them. They're great to have fun with. And the discipline, the being able to align with your core values, align with your vision. And like you said, not just trust the process, but engage in the process, have the community. That is like your best friend. Like that's going to be the friend that's going to tell you maybe not what you want to hear, but it's going to be the truth that is going to get you up and stick to your principles when you don't feel like it. Right. So thank you so much, Matt, for like just sharing. I already know that, anybody listening is getting so much value. And yeah, do you want to kind of share how people can connect with you? If they're looking forward to, I'm sure they can follow you after this, but I'm definitely making this episode. So
100%. I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram. So I do this year want to maybe go on YouTube. I think that would be really, really cool, because I do like maybe these long form content as well. But yeah, mainly see me on Instagram, just Matt Clem with CLEMM, and we're just here to have a good time. So we're here to dance. I got Beyond Wonderland, so if anyone in our networks are going to that, would love to meet up, as well as EDC Vegas. So if you guys love to dance, love EDM music, that is kind of my lifestyle and what I really enjoy outside of fitness and everything. So yeah, that's where to find me, and always open for conversation for anyone that just wants to talk about where they're at in their journey, have any questions in terms of maybe their victim mentality or taking more responsibility for their fitness or for their health. So always an open book, and always just that friendly guy that loves going to concerts.
oh, yeah.
So just hit me up, and yeah, that's what I have.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, I have one festival on my vision board this year, so maybe we'll rage together.
Exactly. I do want to go to Ultra Miami next year, so no matter what, I might be in and around your area. So no
Yeah.
matter what, 2025, like a year from now would be crazy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I've been wanting to go to like a big festival. I got Daniel, my partner, into like EDM. So he's like loving the vibes. And I'm like, imagine if we just all go to Austria. That'd be so fun.
Exactly. But we should get another live in maybe next week or the week after. Love just chopping it up and having good conversations with you.
Same, Matt. I agree. Like, I'm super, super down. I think we're really aligned, and I think our conversations are awesome. I love to hear what you have to say.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.